Quality Games.
Okay, welcome everyone. It's good to see you all here. I'm Jake, project manager from Quality Games, and we're here to show you the finished product for our third-person action platformer, Long Arm of the Law. To bring our extended audience up to speed on the feel of the game, we'd like to first begin by talking about some of our earliest design inspirations. So in our earliest design discussions, we wanted to create a mechanic that would have unique applications all throughout the game, so it would still feel fresh after extended play. Around that time, Mario Odyssey came out, and we were all pretty caught by the way Mario's hat works in the game, and all the different sorts of ways the mechanic of throwing his hat found utility in the world. To that end, when we settled on grappling as our core mechanic to start with, we wanted to ensure that it would be a tool that provided players with refreshing possibilities. In those discussions, we found our desired visual experience would want to honor old Western locations, colors, styles, and tropes, and we wanted to present them with inspirations that we took from Fortnite's shape language, color values, and stylization. Even our lighting has taken cues from Fortnite, and all the lights in our game are dynamic, allowing us to breathe more life into the world. So with our inspirations made a little more clear, let's talk a little about a character that players will journey alongside. So this is the hero of our robotic western, Motor Rockwell. Motor is one of the few sheriff bots, and if you look at his design, you'll notice some asymmetry happening with his arms, where one is much larger than the other. Well, when new sheriffs are built, they come with two of these long arms, but Motor tragically had one stolen in a bandit ambush and had it replaced with a smaller prosthetic. And while that loss burdened him greatly, he used this opportunity to practice sharpshooting with his new hand, and what we have now is a bot looking to take back what's his. So what tools does he have in his arsenal that can help him with that? This brings us to our core mechanics. So these two objects you see here represent the player's major autonomy in the world. So you have your gun, which you can probably infer is something that can shoot enemies and objects from a distance, but it also has a special property to it, and that the bullets are the bullets are electric, and they can affect magnetism of metal surfaces. On the other hand, the arm can extend. The arm can extend and retract from Motor's body. It can grab onto objects from a distance. You can use it to swing yourself around. And once something has been grabbed, enemies can either be pulled in or pushed away from the player. So when it comes to pushing and pulling, there's a few rules that are associated with that, which brings us to our mass-based interactions. So what you're seeing here is that Motor is able to grab a light object from a distance and pull it to him. Since Motor is the heavier object of the two, that object comes to him because Motor's weight has the influence. Alternatively, you can use your weight to help push lighter objects away from you. In the instance of a heavy object, you'll notice that if you were to grab and contract your arm, you get pulled to it because it's a heavier object than you. And you can also use a heavy object to get away in a pinch. You're able to push yourself away from it. So, in the instance of something being the same mass as Motor, if you were to contract your arm, you guys meet in the middle. And if you were to push away, You'd be sent back an even distance at an equal speed. So we'll be showing our demo soon, but before we do so, I wanted to go over some lessons learned and how iteration was a huge part of our process. Any character or enemy just on its own took countless hours of iterative development, including elements like animation, special effects, just functionality of a character or enemy. That said, the element of our game that needed the most iteration was the last major room in our game before the boss room, a space that we referred to as the Shantytown. We want to show you some of that journey today. So all ideas start out on paper, and our first glimpse of what the area would look like came from our environment artists who made sketches of a rusty town that was built underground, with homes packed tightly together, lining up on the walls, and also had major water features in it. On the design end, we intended this area to incorporate every major mechanic in the game as well, this would be the place that players can feel the soul of the game, where they're free to grab and swing around, where they have all the varieties of enemies to fight, and they can complete objectives in the room in their own chosen order. It's not a linear experience for them. So from these sketches and the design goals, we began making a white box area to experiment with. This was the first space that we were able to test out with just basic UE4 assets. At this stage, though, there was some back and forth within our team about how big the space needed to be, should be, and the costs associated. You may not be able to tell from these screenshots, but this area was gigantic at this time. And when we went into set dress, the area with actual props, the space was initially reduced, but not enough, and this would come up again in our team meetings. The screenshot you see on the top left was the iteration just after that white box, and it became more clear to the team that we wouldn't be able to fill up such a huge location with all the lighting we needed and all the visual fidelity of other parts in our game. And in playtests, we would see people wander around what appeared to them to just be a big vacant space and not really having much of an idea what they needed to be doing. So while it did mean that we had to sacrifice some of our work, we came together to plan out a more compact version of the room that everyone could agree upon, while still being a non-linear experience that players could explore on their own. In the screenshot on the right, you can see the town as it appears today, and you'll be seeing this in greater depth in the demo. There were a lot of learned lessons and iterations in our game throughout development that aren't listed here, and we'd like to show you what all that hard work amounts to in its culmination in our demo. Okay. I do still have like one more slide to go over though, so I hate to bring you guys back into PowerPoint after that, but that's where we're going. So, Smash is great.